What up, nerds, and welcome to another bonus episode of Straight Chillin', the weekly horror movie review show where we review horror movies. But today, we are not reviewing a movie. We're actually wrapping up the 2025 Bucheon Film Festival. But before we get into all that, first, let me introduce my co-host for today. Calling in from Washington, D.C., it's my boy, Rand Diesel.
For today, that's an interesting choice. Yeah, I'm just one of those. I'm just on every episode. One of those
for today. I was trying to distinguish how like Bob was not going to be here for today. So.
Yeah, okay, gotcha. For today, we'll see about tomorrow. Who fucking knows?
Next week,
plenty of room to fuck up.
We're still in the trial period for Randy.
Yeah, it's a 10-year probationary period here at Straight Chilling.
Moving into year 11, Randy. So whoa.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. I don't even want to think about that. All right.
Yeah. Speaking of about time, this is our third Bucheon, our third year doing Bucheon. Yeah, which is pretty nuts.
That is crazy. It's one of my favorites too, man. It's like it's the only film festival we have this like off of the continent international that we attend or involve ourselves with. And by doing so, it gives us like such a wide array of movies that no one else, even the other festivals that we attend, get a hold of. So I'm pretty psyched to talk about these.
Yeah, it's the one I actually get to go to, and that's always fun, getting to meet people and stuff. So, this year I got to go and I showed up for it's a long one. It's like a little over a week. It's about 10 days. And I feel like the directors and actors and everybody who shows up, I feel like they either come for the beginning or the end. And I have done both in the past, but this year I did the opening ceremony and the first weekend, and then I came back for a couple little events throughout the week. But it's a long one, but it was a lot of fun. The big talk, of course, this year again was the Bucheon Plus, which is the AI program they've introduced, and the AI short films and filmmaking segments and stuff they did. So all the Western directors and actors coming in were all abuzz and talking about that. So it's always interesting getting people in who didn't realize that was a part of Bucheon. I guess it's only the second year, but it was
pretty light last year. But we're in nascent stages of that being even viable. So it makes sense that it's still fresh, but. Yeah, it was it conjured some emotions for me when I heard how deeply that their opening film was going to be in an AI production.
Yeah, and it was actually he came out for the opening ceremony. He was European. I can't remember exactly where he was from, but he was talking about it because it was involved Herzog in a way, and he talked about kind of like the legal aspects of it and getting it cleared with his estate and how he wasn't actually a fan of it. Like he was like talking about how much of a pain in the ass of it was and how it was more of a critique of like the technology and everything like that. So yeah, it was interesting to hear him speak. One thing, the director of Bucheon did give a speech at the opening ceremony that had some problematic things, I think, in it. But one of the interesting things that he talked about that sparked this idea in my mind was he talked about it being able to allow young Korean filmmakers to maybe have more of an opportunity in the global filmmaking space. And that for some reason sparked this idea in my mind that I had several discussions with people. I was like, that comment specifically made me think of the aspect of early young hip hop, where at that time you didn't have computers. And young kids who couldn't afford instruments or practice space, or where everything was driven by these 4 or 5 piece bands, would go to vinyl shops and pick out these obscure instrumental albums and find loops. And they weren't creating the music themselves, but they were distorting it. They were changing it to make this new genre of music that made that realm of music more accessible to them, I guess. because at that time, you know, if you had a 4 or 5 piece band, a lot of people dismissed hip hop. Oh, you're not musicians. You're not making hip hop. You're stealing and those kinds of things. And if you had told somebody, you know, in the early 80s, oh, you're going to create this genre and you're going to be the next John Lennon of a generation, you know, if somebody told, you know, Eminem, you know, some
Eminem's
well, I'm just saying, like, I'm trying to think like John Legend status, you know, like, you know, a young Jay-Z, a young Tupac, a young be like, oh, you will be the status John Legend of this new genre. Well, people would just say like, you're not musicians, you're stealing. A band is this entity. This is what it is. And I was like, oh, that it just kind of sparked that idea in me. You know, we don't know where it's going to end up.
You're right. I mean, like the thing about AI, like I think about this shit a lot with my career being in visual arts. Like it's something we talk about at work. It's something we deal with at work. We have AI protocols that we use, and it's like to me, like the toothpaste is out of the tube. There's no like putting it back in there. The thing about AI is that it is currently the Wild West, and I don't know like where it's heading, and I think that there's definitely some good that can come out of it. Certainly some functional things that can come out of it. I don't think art is what it should be used for, at least not for the end result. Like this is like kind of the key differentiator that a lot of people like tend to agree on who embrace AI, but on a limited basis. It's meant to be a tool in your tool chest, not to be the end result. Like I can make something in 5 minutes based on shit that's just on Canva, stuff that they have in their repositories that they have available. It wouldn't take long. I just input a couple of pieces of data and use a template that they have, and that's that. But I didn't make anything. Yeah. And the thing is, like with AI specifically, it's so prolific and so wide. Like its breadth is so wide that basically it's aggregating all of culture at the same time, which means it can only find like at best a dead medium or a crazy outlier that is only there by error. Like you can't intentionally necessarily find yourself in like the true creative area of AI just solely on an AI protocol. Like you have to make decisions. If you're not making decisions, there's no art involved in it. It's not humans communicating, which is what art is. It is just a matter of functionality. And it, of course, upends a ton of industries, which is the real havoc that it's causing in my world, which is shitty. Like, it just kind of sucks. You know, it's a cotton gin, and we're crop sharers, you know? So, I don't know, man. It comes with a lot of criticisms possible, and I was glad to hear that I forget the name of this director who did this opening film, the Herzog.
I need to look that up.
Herzog alike AI film that he did. When I read that, I am like immediately was like, oh fuck, like what is this? Like, is this? Because I imagined it was trying to prove Herzog wrong. Like, no, I can make a movie just like yours. Which, thank God, it's not that, because it's that would be a product of flattening all of Herzog's work into, like, it's the same way that like an SNL sketch riffs on Wes Anderson tropes, except there's nobody actually identifying those tropes. It's just algorithmically deciding those things, which makes it immediately less valuable on a human level. So I don't know. I was glad to hear that it was rooted in some criticism. But yeah, I don't know. AI, it's a whole fucking barrel of mostly either problematic or yet to be resolved things, and then a couple of like pretty solid use cases for it. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, it is.
I don't want to be blanket sweeping it entirely, because we've been using AI for years in smaller ways. It just wasn't hyped the way it is now, and it wasn't producing fucking what people are calling art. Yes. You know, like. So now is the time where we decide what is actually valuable about art. And for years, that's been a fucking wall they've been chipping away at forever. Because if you say that art has value, then you have to ultimately pay for it. And people don't want to pay for shit. Like, yeah. You know, I don't know.
This director's he's from Denmark. His name is Peter Winewes something. Ooh, I'm gonna butcher everybody's name today. I apologize. Hang on. Winnie Whiz, maybe. Um, so yeah,
Sure.
but what one thing I will also say too, this is the second year, and one of the things I like most about it is BFON is the only, as far as I know, festival that has more of a kind of, I guess, positive spin or not so negative spin on AI. And the discussions that I've been having every year with like the directors coming in and like it's always like the big buzz, especially of the opening ceremony, like reception and stuff like that.
I'll
Everybody's
bet.
so it's really like cool to just hear, you have all these creators from around the world coming in and discussing these things. And it's really just interesting to be a part of that
Let me ask you
conversation.
this: what would you say the ratio of people embracing it versus people dubious of it in those discussions?
Well, that's a thing. I mean, so I was talking with one of the directors I'm going to bring up later today. I'll find out where he's from about that kind of hip hop thing. He's like, you know what? I have never considered it in that way because I think from a Western standpoint, it is often just negative. It's kind of taking the jobs. It's not a creative process, something that normally would take 5 months to create. Somebody's like, oh, I can do something similar in a week or, something like that. So, but when I brought up the idea of the hip hop, that at the time, people said, you're not real musicians, you're stealing. This isn't a legitimate style of music. And then just 20 years later, 30 years later, it's the essential genre of the culture, of the world, it's the number one. So, he was like, I never thought about it in that kind of context. And he was like, I'm gonna kind of like move forward keeping that in my mind. But the Westerners are generally like quite negative, but that I think that's the interesting aspect too, because one thing I was mentioning is BFON this year too. They've launched, I think, through government funding, this institute, like specifically designed for teaching AI filmmaking, specifically, not just AI in general, but AI filmmaking. And one of the things I was kind of talking about, like that really sparked that idea with me, was talking about accessibility for Koreans. Is Korean population in general is like so small, and upward mobility is nothing like what it is, at least like in the United States, Canada, and stuff like that. So because of that, um, artistic endeavors are often seen as kind of privileged places in society, because most families from a very young age are going to be pushing their kids so they only have one, maybe two kids. It's extreme to have anything more than two kids in Korean society, pushing them to be practical, to have practical jobs in their future, accountant, lawyer, doctor, those kinds of things. Nobody is investing the huge amounts of money it takes to like even have some art classes, or like nobody's pushing their kids to be film directors or anything like that. And so people who end up in that realm are often quite privileged, because if you fail as a film director, your family can support you, those kinds of things. And it kind of made me think of even like the early 2000s when a band like the Strokes came out, and by that time to be able to afford a drum set or a guitar and an amp and a practice space and have 5 people come together actually became quite a privileged place to have a 4 or 5 piece band. You need a lot of money and support. So Korean society is a lot more open to AI just in general through like a whole bunch of different spaces. So it's not just filmmaking in general, but it allows them that kind of more accessibility in the way a kid now doesn't need to invest in a drum set. They can buy an app on their phone and sit alone in their room and create music that could ultimately expose them to millions of people if they honed it in and used it correctly.
They struck the right thing. Well,
Yeah.
that's like honestly, like that's really interesting. But like to me, that's almost less akin to the rise of hip hop and more akin to the rise of like YouTube, like the influencer culture in general, which I think that's a better, like that's just a more direct thing, because we're dealing with the internet now, which means that if you give a greater number of people greater access to the ability to create things for anyone who, with the right instructions or right link to see, then the barrier for entry is just how much you can hone in on people's interests or how much you can engage with somebody, which can be it is an artistic endeavor, but it is also a marketing endeavor. And the way those two uneasy bedfellows have made themselves laid themselves out in just YouTube, for example, like you can see like the people that are making money on there are, a lot of them have a good creative skill or whatever, but a lot of them don't. Like and the way that they dole out money is suspect, and the way that it's just like it's a big company that is, yes, giving a lot of people that otherwise wouldn't be able to be heard an opportunity to be heard, but it's also regulated in a very suspect way, and it is such a wide pool that it ultimately starts to become a social engineering thing where it's trying to manipulate the most attention, regardless of what kind of attention, regardless, it's your attention. The attention economy is what it's about. And if that's where filmmaking ultimately goes because of the lower barrier of access, that's not necessarily a good thing. It's like, it can be a good thing, but it can also be a really bad thing for just the entirety of the concept of art. So I don't know. This is the fraught conversation you get to have, and I didn't mean for this to become just an AI conversation.
Oh no. Like I said, this has become one of the most interesting things about it, because now I know it's like a staple. They have an AI category, and I will say, just from that standpoint, I do remember last year it was part of all the screeners. You had access to all the AI shorts, and I remember watching one because it was like kind of Halloween themed, or it was like the pumpkin patch or something. I remember it looked like garbage. And I will say the storytelling might still be quite off these days, because I think you're quite limited to like piecing these consistent stories together. But the look of it in just 1 year is crazy.
Oh yeah,
it's so crazy
because it's a space race. Like people like they are fucking over like micro governments and ecology to just like pump fucking gases into the air and make this shit fucking happen so that people can turn themselves into a shitty fucking Studio Ghibli lookalike or something, like just so that they can make the ticker go up for that particular company. So I mean, this is, again, it's an uneasy bedfellows. Art and commerce never quite align. So I don't know, man. It's I'm always going to be suspect of the whole endeavor. I think just it's the way I'm wired, but I don't want to pretend like there's not some good uses out there. Like I have used AI. I've used AI in my work, but specifically to lay out work like quickly so that I can sell an idea or get somebody on board with an idea and then go make it for real, like with intentionality behind it.
And that's interesting, because even like a lot of the, the short films that people come for shorts, a lot of them are like proof of concepts, and a couple films today, I'm going to say they were, fully made, and some of them are like 60 minutes long, but still in some ways feel like proof of concept types of things. Like they're not fully realized, or the budgets, I think is
perfectly legitimate.
Yeah. So, that's kind of an interesting aspect of it too. So no, I think it's something I'm going to look forward to each year, and seeing how, one, it keeps it in my mind of like how much AI is growing from year to year. When I just show up to BFun, now there's this new category, and I could see like, holy shit, like this is where AI's come in 1 year, so that'll be interesting. But we are here to actually talk about the human artist.
Fucking old school like that.
I know, the old school artist. So we're just gonna go through our list back and forth. We've seen some of the same movies, most of them different, and we're just gonna do spoiler free kind of reviews, I guess, not necessarily like full reviews or whatever, but just talking about what we saw and what we thought about them and stuff like that. So I'm going to start it off. My first film that I am going to talk about is called Descendant. And this was American, I believe. This was directed by Peter Oh my, I'm so sorry. I'm gonna
You
butcher
practiced this.
I know I practiced it beforehand. I'm gonna butcher everyone's name. It's just I'm fucking god awful with names. Salela, I think it is. And this is a Benson and Moorhead produced film. And one thing that I've noticed is they keep showing up at BFON, so I hope that like becomes a consistent thing. I feel like I'm almost like collecting all the Benson and Moorhead like directors and everything. I'm like, oh, I'm make a point to meet them like every time. But
is there a stamp book or something?
Yeah. But this another interesting thing that's going to come up a couple times today is this is a sci-fi alien based film, and it's very much in the Benson and Moorhead wheelhouse. So if you like them, I would say keep an eye out for this movie because it very much fits their vibe. But it's about a guy who thinks that he got abducted. Everyone else just thinks he was injured or is kind of like losing his mind a little bit. And it kind of plays with that, untrustworthy narrator thing really well. It's got some really spooky moments. And this guy is just trying to kind of like navigate his life while his wife is pregnant, actually. So it's got some really fun old school sci-fi spooky vibes, like the aliens kind of in the shadows, the abduction. It's like got a full-on like abduction scene with like the probes and everything like that. So this was a solid one. Good Benson and Moorhead. Consistent with their brand, I would say.
I feel like I read, or I don't know if I'm picking this up from your description or if I read this, but I feel like there's a lot of like Close Encounters of the Third Kind in that, right? Like,
yeah, and okay. Actually, there's and it's not one of the things I said is going to come up is interesting. I wonder if we're moving into a new kind of sci-fi era because I've noticed a lot of like sci-fi things popping up, and it's been a little while since we had a full-on kind of like alien
boom
run.
Honestly, like most, I don't know. We'll get to the stuff I watch, but like I feel like there is an uptick in just the number of sci-fi on offer at these festivals, at least. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Maybe maybe it's become more accessible genre to play with the way that horror has always been more accessible because you can do it stripped down, but now you can use, fancier AI tools or whatever else. Like maybe it's just the barrier for entry is a little lower. And there's a lot of people that are afraid of that sort of shit.
I was going to say last year there was that kind of like big boom of like, the Jersey drones and stuff like that. And I wonder if it's just kind of working itself into the common like social fears these days and shit like that.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, yeah. We need more fears.
We need more things to be afraid of.
I don't have enough. I feel like we got it too good for too long.
We really need to be taken down a peg. Randy, what was the first movie you wanted to talk about?
So the first movie that I actually watched as part of this festival, it's a Japanese film called New Group, and that's a film by Shimotsu Yuta. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that in some capacity.
I think you're doing much better than me already.
Yeah, this was an interesting fucking movie that is sci-fi adjacent. I would describe it, at least at the front end, it felt you know what? I'm going to read the program notes and give a description of the movie before I comment on it real quick. So the program notes from BFON's website reads, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but it's spelled AI, funny enough. A high school girl raised in a seemingly happy but unstable family, has no clear plans for the future or strong sense of self. She becomes intrigued by you, a transfer student who with a personality opposite her own. One day, a humid pyramid is built on the school playground, and the teachers force students to take part. I and you are unsettled by the coercive atmosphere and begin to sense a strange energy. The reality around them grows increasingly grotesque and disturbing. The work embodies a new form of group, quote, group born from the clash between extreme individualism and oppressive collectivism, portrayed through an unsettling and bizarre perspective. There's a little bit more to that, but like that is kind of the core of it. Is like it kind of has this The Host as done by Junji Ito, but done for teens. I don't know if like that's the blend I got out of this, at least certainly from the beginning, because the way this human pyramid starts is it's just like one person like hunches on the playground, sits there and just won't move, won't speak, and doesn't respond to anybody. And they're just like, keep walking. Nobody look here. Nothing to worry about. and then more people start joining it, and more people start joining it, and then the principal of the school is like, yeah, I think this is great, everybody join in, and it becomes this thing. I don't want to spoil too much, but like, fucking once the pyramid starts becoming more than just a pyramid, shit gets weird. Okay, like shit gets very weird. Some dream logic is at play at some points, or at least some like nonsense logic. And it's not like a hard sci-fi. It's like it's more gestural than that, but it is, I would say, a sci-fi at the end of the day, and it is definitely heavily talking about individuality versus collectivism, which I think is a very interesting conversation to hear from a Japanese perspective, because you and I have talked about this before, and Rob, about Korea versus America having like a little bit more of a collectivist attitude, a little bit more of like, hey, be part of your civic society. And being from America, where rugged individualism has fucked us royally in the butt forever, I'm very taken with that idea, that civic duty idea that we've lost. But this kind of like makes an argument against that. So like, I feel like it's maybe a grass is greener thing to some degree, but I don't know. The way it's presented is very fun. You're never going to find another movie that uses gymnastics like this movie does. It's fucking strange, and I did enjoy it. So yeah,
good old Japan. I actually, as you were describing it, you remember that Radiohead video where everybody ends up laying on the sidewalk? That's what it kind of made me think of as you were describing it.
Or was it something else?
So, yeah, something. I can't remember what song it's for, but yeah, where at the end everyone's just like laying on the sidewalk or whatever.
Man, that blew my fucking 14-year-old dick in the dirt.
Too.
I was like,
what? Yeah. Me too. That should always kind of freak me out.
It was the martyrs of our lives.
Yeah, it was. All right. The next film I'm going to talk about is a Korean film. Actually, I was quite pleasantly surprised by this. It's a movie called Commission, and the director is Jae-min Shin. It's nuts that I'm getting better at doing better pronunciation of the Korean directors than I am the English ones. The program note is the title commission refers to the act of being paid to create a drawing upon request. But what if those commissions become so extreme they cross the boundaries of obscenity and brutality? In the film, the one taking the commissions is Ta Kyung, a young aspiring comic artist. She dreams of success in a webtoon world, especially since her older sister is already a popular webtoon creator. Hoping to gain recognition, she impulsively visits the dark web and accepts her first commission. It kind of goes on from there, but yeah, this made me think of you, and I actually thought this concept was quite clever, because it was another thing of like this young struggling artist. She's kind of trying to prove herself, like, am I worthy, am I good enough? You know, she's just teaching art in this kind of school at the time. She's really trying to make it as an artist, and she starts taking commissions from the dark web to do these like really extreme graphic things, and ultimately starts to kind of get famous off of it, like in the dark web. But it's an interesting thing too, because she makes money off of it, and so in the dark web world, she's famous and she's very proud of her work, but it's so extreme that she can't like tell anybody about it. Yeah. And so part of it is that extreme of like, oh, I am like famous and I am a worthy, good enough artist, but the art is not acceptable to society, and stuff like that. And then one of the art pieces becomes a murder, and then it spirals into this kind of like mystery, and it gets dark and brutal and stuff too. But it was actually quite an interesting film.
You mentioned that, and it would have probably been the next thing I watched if I had managed to squeeze one more in. But the runtime kind of scared me off initially, and I kind of regret that, because it sounds really like up my alley. It reminds me, just the description, a little bit of Cam. Do you remember that movie Cam?
Yeah.
Where it is like that thing where like somebody's becoming really successful, and then but they can't really talk about it in public. They don't really, and in that case, they didn't really want to, because it was, for those who don't know, it's about a cam girl who like strips on OnlyFans or whatever the equivalent was on that movie. And then eventually like some crazy shit starts happening around that. I don't know. Like that does sound really interesting. Like the thing is, like, people do debase themselves in art in order to get a foothold that allows their, like, this is it's almost like you can ramp it all the way up to like the blank check idea, where like somebody makes a fucking killer movie that makes $1 billion, and then they get a blank check movie where they get to make whatever they want. It's a transactional thing. Again, art and commerce, making strange bedfellows, and occasionally making good art, and occasionally making dog shit art that they just blow fucking endless amounts of money on the basis of a one-off success. Like, I don't know. There's a lot to be said in that topic, obviously, and artists weirdly want to talk about themselves. So there's a lot of movies about
what?
I know, yeah, fucking weird, right?
Yeah, but yeah, I would recommend that one to anyone who's interested in art. I will say it was 113 minutes, and I will say it was kind of riding that traditional Korean aspect where I was like, you probably could have shaved about like 15 minutes off of this. And if Korean directors are listening, keep that in mind, because some of us Westerners are like, hey, you know what, that movie's a little too long looking, I might not watch it.
We're tastemakers, damn it. We don't have time for all your
time is money, baby.
That's right. Jesus Christ. Cool. Well,
yeah, Randy, what you got next?
Okay, I wasn't sure if you were ready for me to jump in, but yeah, the second film I watched is a film called Mad Mask, and this is by a couple of directors by the name of Nagano and Arai Katsuya.
Another Japanese movie.
Another Japanese film, yeah. This one's a little bit shorter at 73 minutes. And buddy, some of the stills got me in on this one. There's a couple of like crazy stills, and this is a very, very violent film. I'm going to read the program note real quick, or some of it anyway. A bartender, I would say slash, a serial killer who skins... A bartender, a serial killer who skins his face and wears it like a mask after killing a guest. This is poorly phrased. A bartender meets or serves a serial killer and skins his face and wears it like a mask after killing a... This is not right. I'm sorry.
Dude, Silence of the Lambs style here?
So basically, the bartender's a serial killer. Okay. A man walks in, he kills that man and wears his mask and wears his face like a mask.
The bartender wears the mask.
The bartender wears the mask, who's also a serial killer, only to find out that the person he killed was also a serial killer.
Okay. All right.
And after killing him and wearing his face like a mask, the bartender soon becomes engulfed in a nightmare fantasy. In the fantasy, he encounters himself, who is much more cruel and bizarre than usual, and finds out that the man is much crazier than he is. His face clings to the skin of the bartender, and his madness is at its peak. To enjoy this film, you must abandon logic and probability in order to enjoy this work.
Good old Japan.
That's some Department of Redundancy department shit. Yeah, so like this movie literally opens up with like a well-dressed man saying basically that. He's like, "Hi, welcome to the movie. Remember, this is a movie, and in this particular movie, you'd be best served to abandon all thoughts of logic."
It's like Marge telling us about Halloween horror.
Yeah. It's like, this one's very scary. Yeah. And buddy, yeah, it's the shit that happens in this. This is by far the most absurdist film that I watched, and I could not begin to describe some of the things that happen in this movie to you, and have it make any level of sense. I will read you one thing that I texted to you and Rob as I was watching this, because I was blown the fuck away by what I was witnessing. Okay. Jesus Christ. A dude just turned into a tar man looking corpse in a sauna, and then his girlfriend comes in and squats over him, revealing there's an eyeball looking down at him from inside her pussy. Full frontal, by the way. With some older bespectacled Japanese man as the pupil of within the pupil of the eye. I am describing this as plainly as I can. That's what I wrote. And like, that happened in this fucking movie. Like, I don't know what this movie's about even now. The logic, like, you totally have to abandon it because there is none to be found as far as I can tell. There's talks about God. There's rants about artists and about influencers. There's like crazy rants in here. There's like just extreme gory violence. There's dick removals in this movie. It's crazy. It is fucking nuts. And I'm glad it was the length it was and not even a minute longer, because my patience started wearing thin with this movie towards the end. I would say that this it's cool, and I'm not upset that I watched it. I just think that like this is better suited as a shorter film than this. I if you're gonna, I don't know if I can sit through this much nonsense with no discernible point for this long without like starting to lose my interest and think about other things. Even as bombastic as it is, it's just a series of crazy moments and half thoughts. And I don't begrudge it that. I think that's kind of cool. I think that some of the shit it does is kind of cool. Some of it is not so cool. But like it's really the length that got to me. And it's only 73 minutes as a reminder. So yeah.
One thing that you said that reminded me is weirdly this year there's also a lot of like eye stuff going on, because there's another movie we're going to talk about that's like got a like strong eye theme, and there was a quite a strong eye theme in the first movie I talked about, Descendant. There was like a lot of like eye show with the aliens and stuff. So eyes are making a comeback this year.
The eyes are back.
Good old Japan, man. You can always trust them to throw something crazy our way.
Yeah, those are my two Japan movies. We're gonna get to some other countries after this. But how about you? What's your next one?
My next one is a movie called Touch Me. This is from the States by director Addison Heyman, and I actually got to meet Addison at the opening ceremony, and we drank one night. He's a lot of fun, and his movie is another Benson and Moorhead produced one, I believe he said, even though they're not listed here, but this is outside their wheelhouse. This is not a typical Benson and Moorhead one. This is a horror comedy that is hilarious. I genuinely will say nice. I was cracking up. He wrote it too, so he did a good job writing these jokes and everything. And actually, I really liked the concept. It's another kind of sci-fi based one, which was interesting, but it's about well, I'll read the note real quick. The show note, the program note. Joey, tormented by obsessive compulsive disorder and childhood trauma, begins therapy sessions in a psychiatrist's office, where she soon starts sharing perhaps too much vivid detail, and for far too long, her intense relationship with a charming alien named Brian. According to Joey, sex with Brian was not only pleasurable, but also miraculously soothing. His touch could instantly erase all of her anxiety, but that healing power soon begins to unravel her life. So what I will say this is based on is Brian this takes place in California, I believe, or like they go out to the desert a lot. And Brian is almost kind of like this. It's really funny because we joke about this on our podcast. This kind of like sex cult leader who has the ability to like take people's anxiety away. And so he attracts people who are, very anxious, like, in low points of their life. And it's almost like this drug, and people are willing to accept and do what he says because he's able to offer this relief to them. And things like spiral way out of control, talking about like deaths and like crazy shit. Cause ultimately he's this alien that like wants to take over the world, but like people are willing to accept it because he like makes them feel better for a short time, but it fades, but it's very funny.
That does sound like drugs.
Yeah, it's very, very, very funny. Joey's got like a best friend in this. His name is Craig, and their relationship is hilarious. And like Brian's whole situation, him acting like an alien, trying to pretend he's a human and stuff like that is hilarious. And yeah, I just really love this film. I hope it gets like a full wide release. It's actually, we're covering Fantasia right now too, and I think we're able to get screeners for that. So I'm trying to push you and Bob to be able to see that one. It was really good. I liked it.
I mean, that sounds good. I didn't see really any, aside from Mad Mask, anything that I would categorize as adjacent to comedy at all. So I would like to see
that's
something
too bad.
A little more light.
Yeah.
So
a good one. Keep an eye out for this one, everyone. Yeah, I like this one.
What was the name of it again?
It's called Touch Me.
Touch Me. Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Fucking yeah. Touch Me is also I forgot about this, but it was at Overlook Film Festival, and Rob and I just never got around to checking it out. There was too much going on.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I'd like to check it out. Great. Well, the next one I'm going to bring up is one that we both watched, which is called Reflection in a Dead Diamond. And this is directed by Bruno Forzani and Helene Catet. This is a French film. I'm sorry, not French. No, I guess it says Belgium, Luxembourg, Italy, France. So
It's got a big mix, yeah, but it's French
it's
language mostly.
yeah, it is. So we'll call it a French film for ease. And here's what the program note reads. At a luxury hotel on the French Riviera, a septuagenarian John D. enjoys a life of quiet elegance. Once a globe-trotting spy in the 1960s, an era marked by secrets, promises, conflict, and glamour, he now spends his days leisurely strolling the beach and basking in the sun. But his calm routine is disrupted when a mysterious woman checks into a hotel room next door and catches his eye. One day she vanishes without a trace, and the familiar stirrings of fear pull John back into the shadows of his past. Reflections in the Dead Diamond is a passionate art house homage to the Eurospy genre that surged across Europe in the 60s and 70s, following the debut of 007 franchise with Dr. No in 1962. So yeah, this is a fucking interesting movie. I was just drawn to the idea of a pastiche of 60s spy films, spy thrillers. That's what pulled me in. It does a fucking fabulous job at that. Some of the shots and some of like set pieces and stuff and the techniques that are at play here, even the down to the film grain, look awesome and look completely authentic to that time period. I loved that about it. The story is like goes places, man. My footing was torn off a few times watching this. I don't know about you, but like there was a few times where like a twist would happen. I don't even know if it categorized as a twist, but like a turn would happen in the story. I'd be like, oh wait, fuck. Maybe this isn't even true. Like maybe this is an unreliable narrator, or maybe this, I don't want to spoil too much or whatever, but there's a lot going on in this movie, and I don't know that like the story is like the most compelling thing in the world, but the story matched with the style worked for me pretty good. How about you?
Dude, I loved this movie. It's a little difficult. It's beautiful, like you said.
Mhm.
The color grading is amazing in the film look, dude.
Totally.
It's beautiful. A lot of times they're shooting on this coastal resort, and just the shots of the ocean and the sand, like the colors are so rich. It's beautiful. It really, I was blown away by how good it looked. But the story, I'm conflicted because I'm like, damn, if it wasn't so weird, if it was a little more accessible, it could blow up. But like, I kept struggling with, sometimes I thought that this was this kind of spin on like an old retired spy who's starting to lose his mind a little bit, because it constantly jumps back and forth between when he's young and he's older now, but then there are some things that are revealed
and out of order too.
Yeah, way out of order, that are like not true. But then they have really cool villains too for this, 007-esque spy, where one of them is this like hypnotizer who's like, he hypnotizes you to make you feel like you're in a movie, and it gets kind of meta a little bit. It's so trippy, dude.
I'm still not sure what like is true about the story of this movie. Like, what is the actual thing underpinning everything that happens in this movie? I'm still not sure.
It was
I would watch it again, not to find out necessarily, just to watch it again.
Yeah, I want this just to get a bigger release, just so more people could talk about it, because it's so trippy.
It's a strange one, man. And also like the way you described it, and the way like I think that if you like this, you'll probably like the Netflix series Ripley, which is another take on the talented Mr. Ripley, because it's also like on I don't know if it's French Riviera, I don't remember, but it's in a like beautiful coastal resort in Europe, and it's got intrigue and it's shot beautifully or whatever. It's a very different style. It's not going for a pastiche of spy movies at all, but I think that those things, it has a line, and it has great environment setting and like shots and everything. But yeah, this is just a really fucking interesting movie, and I would definitely watch this one again. I think it's worth a look.
Yeah, I like that one. It was crazy.
You got another one?
Yeah, I'm going to do another Korean one. This is not really horror. This is what I would call a kind of black romantic comedy, actually. So another comedic one, which was nice. And it was shorter. It's only 67 minutes, but it's called The Happy Ending for Sarah. And I actually got to meet this director as well. His name is Lok Yong Kim, and very pleasant guy, a really nice guy. And this movie was very pleasant. It was kind of in where most of the things I'm watching are quite dark or strange. It was pretty straightforward. It's about this like small film crew, this independent film crew, and they're kind of like this group of ragtag kind of rejects a little bit. You know, they're making like independent films, and there's this one member, her name is Sarah, and I can't remember what job she has in the crew, but she's just kind of always like shat on. People just kind of like treat her kind of like shit. She's always like the put upon one, you know, people are always kind of like dismissive of her. And so, yeah, exactly. And she is kind of like moody though. She's like this moody kind of like, you know, depressing girl or whatever. And she's like quite dark and eventually just kind of like spirals out of control where people just kind of keep treating her bad, and there's like this like romantic aspect, but it ends up kind of like turning sour a little bit, and it gets like suggestively dark at the end, but not with any like specific gore or anything. But I think it's just about, you know, being put upon and like how much can you take and like and stuff. But it's comedic, it's funny, and really it was just like kind of a pleasant watch. This is one of those ones that felt like a kind of proof of concept, like he was like showing his chops. And I think he would be like a good director to be able to take on like some of the Netflix stuff that they're doing to, you know, those the K dramas. But I liked his darker flair. I think the Korean scene could use a little bit more of that. It's all very much, you know, very cookie cutter these days and soap opera-y or whatever. So yeah, I really liked his style, and it was quite pleasant. So I hope he gets an opportunity to do some more stuff. I liked his movie.
Nice.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
What you got next, Randy?
Oh, let's see. The next one is the only one that hails even remotely from the US that I've watched. It's called Latency. James Croak or Croakey, I'm not sure which, is the director of this. It says USA and Thailand, but it's in English, and I'm just going to consider it a US film. A tight 90 minutes. It's actually, I guess it's just the Asian premiere here, but I guess it had been out before. I had never heard of this, but this, well, let me read the program note and we'll get into it. The program note reads, Hannah, a former pro gamer suffering from severe agoraphobia, one day receives a prototype device called Omnia from a gaming company. Designed to detect brainwaves and enhance gaming abilities, Omnia presents a chance for Hannah, once a promising esports star, to make a comeback. With the support of her friend Jen, she enters a gaming tournament using the device, determined to reclaim her former glory. However, the deeper she immerses herself in the game, the more the boundaries between reality and the virtual world begin to blur. Omnia evolves from a simple enhancement tool into a threatening presence that begins to consume her mind. I'll leave it at that. That kind of gives you the the picture. So this is an interest. I mean, this is not something I liked. This film, I thought it was pretty decent, but it was playing with pretty familiar elements. I think it's playing with like sort of that repulsion, isolation, making somebody go mad, especially a young woman. It's got that element, like that's kind of the core of it, but it's also got some of this Black Mirror-esque stuff going on with this Omnia device. And like, it's a pretty fucking cool bit of sci-fi tech where, you know, you strap it into the back of your head and then you do like, I think she did like 3 days of what is it? Setting up the settings, like setting it up and training it for her brainwaves, I guess. And then after that, she can like completely control her computer without touching a thing.
Oh, sure.
So like she like instantaneous reaction time, basically. So yeah, she becomes great at esports again or whatever. And like, I don't know, this is like it's an interesting idea. And of course it goes sideways because the thing learns too much about her, and sure, it mixes in with her fears and her childhood trauma surrounding her fears. And you know, it kind of goes, I would say, in the direction I would expect from that story to go. It's not, like I said, it's not something I haven't seen before. I wouldn't characterize it as particularly unique, but it's got a cool look and it's got a cool conceit, like sci-fi conceit, and the performances are pretty good. I think that it's got a lot going for it. I wouldn't say it's my favorite of the festival, though.
Sounds like it gets the job done, but It's kind of like,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's like I don't regret watching it, but I also don't know
yeah.
that I I think feel like it's one of those that's going to be lost in my memory after a month or two.
Interesting.
If I'm being perfectly honest.
I wanted to watch that one, but maybe, yeah, I don't know. It's still, yeah, it kind of sounds like one of those ones like, oh, you're in a kind of like or like a tech mood, maybe you
Hmm.
could watch it, but
Yeah, there's definitely like moods. I don't know. I don't want to talk down about this movie because it's not a bad movie by any means.
yeah, yeah,
It's just that it became quite expected to me after a
gotcha.
certain point.
Mm.
Yeah. How about you? What's your next one?
My next one is I'm gonna do another Korean one because we're rounding it out now. I only have like a couple more, but so this one is
Mhm.
called Paljo. It only has a Korean title. There's no English translation, but this is another short one. It was only 60 minutes. And if I'm being honest, it probably could have shaved 10 to 15 minutes off. So it's another one. I think
Damn.
it's kind of like a proof of concept one, which to be
Okay.
fair, though, this one, the proof of concept, I would love to see fully fleshed out, or like this director, like get like their own full piece to do this style in, because it actually kind of reminded me a lot of The Wailing in a way.
Mm.
But I'll read the program note. Oh, the director. Oh, so this director, I don't. It's it's DGG Yang, which I believe is how you would probably pronounce it. It's just the letters DGGYANG all together, no spaces or anything. So I think he's like an influencer, maybe. So it was giving me maybe a little bit of like Philippou kind of stuff going on here. But
Mm.
the program note says when Miriam turns 26, she will go blind. The prophecy of Grandma Beck shakes Miriam's family to its core. To escape this ominous fate, the family decides to take in a surrogate to bear the curse on their behalf. Thus, Jinko is brought into the household. At first, the ritual seems to succeed. Miriam's eyesight remains intact, but Jinko pays a tragic price, losing his life in an accident. I'll stop it there, but yeah, it's essentially this young girl has a curse, and her family tries to get rid of it by like passing it on to this orphan boy who they kind of like adopt, and
Hmm.
but the kids become close and they kind of grow up together. And after his death, she kind of becomes haunted by the fact that he had to take this burden on for her and that they hadn't gotten so close. And yeah, it deals with a lot of like Korean Shinto spiritualism. Shinto, I don't think that's the right word, but like traditional, kind of like the wailing
Hmm.
style. And so there's,
Voodoo.
yeah, no, not that. It's not that either. But yeah, so there's some like rituals going on here, and it's mostly spent out in the rural. There's not like a lot of like cast. It's not a big cast. It's like a very small cast. So it
Hmm.
seemed like it was made on a really limited budget. Like I said, more proof of concept thing. But I was really impressed with how it was done with what seemed like very little money. And I was like, ooh, we need more of this for sure. So yeah,
Nice.
way to go, DGG Young. Maybe hope you get some more
We're
money,
gonna call him
buddy.
the Deej.
The Deej, my boy Deej.
My boy, the Deej.
You got
Yeah,
anything
I
else,
almost want.
Randy?
Yeah, I got one more here.
Okay.
This one is the last one I watched before things wrapped up. A Swedish film by the name of The Home. Matthias J. Skoglund. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that horribly, but um, this is a film. Oh, here's the program notes. We'll just jump right into it. It's a shame it takes like, this is my fifth film that I'm read about now, and I've forgotten to read the program note every single time. It takes 6 times. That's what we've learned. Program note reads as follows: Joel, played by Philip Oros, returns to his hometown to check on his mother, and after she suffers a stroke. When he notices a disturbing blood stain near her bedside, he decides she can no longer live alone and arranges for her to stay at a care facility where his childhood friend Nina, played by Gizem Erdogan, works. However, his mother's condition worsens as she begins claiming that her deceased husband is appearing and tormenting her. Soon, strange things start happening, and not only to the staff, but also to other elderly residents at the facility. So yeah, I'm gonna cut it there. But this is like I was interested in this. I felt like there was a movie that we watched as part of our festival run maybe 2 years ago that was also at an old folks home, and this is a very different film from that. This is a very slow burn that I really like the performances from, especially the Nina character, the friend Nina. I thought her performance was very subdued and strong, and from the person who plays Joel's mom. I think that like I really everybody did a good job, but those two stood out to me. Um, and basically this story is like you know a young man grappling with his mother's senility while also grappling with their troubled history at the same time. There was another movie that we saw at Overlook. I'm forgetting what it's called that dealt with something similar but in a very different way. And it just seems like something that people are grappling with a lot now, because I think that like as people are growing to be a little bit older than they used to, like the average age of survival is longer. More people are falling into senility and that sort of thing, and more people are having to deal with that with their parents. And also, like at least in our culture, and it seems like in Sweden as well, it's not so much a culture of like, live with your parents until they pass, which is the case in some parts of the world. It's more like we need to find somebody to take care of them because I've got my own shit going on.
Sure.
So there's a lot of like dealing with stuff in this movie, but the shit that goes on, I don't know. There's a real question throughout this film whether or not it is actually something like that, or if it is something supernatural, or like they keep that question alive throughout the duration of the film mostly. And I think it's that sort of like keeps this movie from going stale on me. At 88 minutes, I don't think that I don't think that I would be interested to go longer with it. I don't know that it could shave off a little bit, but I don't think I would even ask it of that. I think it's kind of the perfect length for that level of intrigue that it offers. Unfortunately, I think that the ending is a little bit of a thud for me. I'm not entirely sure. Like it does not hold your hand, which I appreciate. It gives you like, here's what happens, and what happens does not give you a clear sense of, to me, like what you should be feeling about what has happened. So that it is both freeing to interpret it however you like, but it's also like, I don't know that it was intended to be that interpretable, or if it was just a matter of like the writing not summing things up, or something not quite clicking for me. Ultimately, I think that it's got a lot of good shit going on in it, but it's just like a little bit oblique with what it's trying to say, or what its ultimate message is. But God, it's got a lot of good parts in it. And it's got some really strong performances, some good camera work, and some excellent portrayal, or not necessarily portrayal, but like excellent like elderly actors that are really selling like that feeling of like somebody who's like they're spooking you out, not because they're elderly and they're like communicating in a way that the way that they
are scary.
I mean, look, if you've walked through like if you've talked to somebody who has some level of senility, it is a little rough, man. It can, if you're not sure where this person's coming from and you're not sure where they could possibly go, it's a little bit like talking to somebody to be like a heavy drug addict in some ways, where it's like you just aren't sure what to expect out of it. And the way that's portrayed here is like really strong. And there's also like a clear delineation between that and then the dangerous aspects that we're trying to decipher what's causing it. If that makes sense. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. A little bit of a mixed bag, but mostly positive for this one, I would say.
A good way to keep things obscure too, about like the kind of like the unreliable narrator, a little bit of like what's going on.
There's just a lot of that because I think people are unsure of themselves in general. I think a lot of people are doing a lot of questioning in the world right now, and that's coming through in the artwork, man. The uncertainty of everything.
Not me though. I'm a rock, baby. I know where I'm going, know where I've been.
I am
straight to the top. That's where I'm headed.
That's right.
I got just a couple more just to wrap it up. So the next one's just a short that I wanted to shout out just because I did meet the directors of this one and it was very pleasant. It reminded me of Up a lot. It's and this kind of going to the idea of potentially AI replacing the ideas of shorts. It kind of made me sad because of this one, because this one was stop motion. And it was it was just this couple, they did it together in their house. It took them like 5 months. And
5 months for a stop motion? How long is it?
it's about 15 minutes, I think.
Wow, that's fucking impressive.
15 minutes, yeah. It's called Budo, Budo, and the synopsis is: on the outskirts of Tokyo lives the lonely Miho, an old widow. On her daily trip to the supermarket, she meets a hungry stray cat. The cat follows her home, but soon makes himself more comfortable in her little apartment than she could ever imagine. This was directed by Alexander Toma and Amanda Agard. They are from Sweden, and yeah, they were both very delightful people, and they had spent, at least Amanda had spent some time living in Tokyo for a while, which kind of inspired her. And the little set designs were so cute. It looks so. I just went to Osaka like a month ago, and it looks so authentic with like the little pieces. I'm just like looking at pictures of it now. It's just so cute, and the little Japanese posters and the cat and everything. It was just very pleasant. So I followed them on Instagram now, and I think it's going to be made public through Sweden, maybe YouTube or something though too, in like a month or so, a couple weeks. So if anyone's listening to this in the future, in a month or so, in August 2025, check that out. It's super cute, and like I said, kind of reminded me of Up a little bit in its just general premise. And then the last one is just, we've talked about this before, we got a mini cast on it, but The Ugly Stepsister. I rewatched it to do the interview that I had with Leia Miren, the lead actress, and I liked it again just as much. That, I mean, even before it came to this festival, or we knew we were going to do an interview, this was like top of my list for 2025 so far. It's a really good one. It's a twist on the Cinderella tale, but it's got a lot of body horror. And the interview I did, she talked a lot about they had to make like all these aesthetics. They like scanned her whole body, and they made like they made like up to 100 like different noses for her, like for prosthetics, and they put like stuff all over her body. And this it's just, I really like this movie. I think it won like 2 awards at BFON this year too, so I think people are responding really well to it.
I think it won some awards at Overlook as well, if I remember right.
Well, I think it's sweeping this year, yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, well deserved. I didn't get to see it at Overlook, but I did see it on Shudder when it dropped there.
Mm-hmm.
And buddy, this one is a heavy contender for top of the year so far for me. I really love a lot of what it does. I like that it's at least partially kind of a straight up Grimm's fairy tale adaptation.
Yeah.
With like some divergences certainly, but like it only deepens the darkness of it without going like without, in my opinion, going like too far in the like Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey kind of thing, where it becomes like just
well
the shock
done,
value
you mean.
of your favorite your favorite character from your childhood is shitting down someone's throat right now. Like, it's none of that necessarily. It serves the same purpose of the story, or at least this spin on it, this particular approach on it. And it really makes you like sympathize with this girl. It really makes you like, I don't know. I really enjoyed this a lot. The body horror scenes are a lot, but they're also like, as I remember, pretty heavily they're extrapolated from things that are in, a lot of them are in the fucking the tale, the Grimm's fairy tale version. They're just like taking them to their natural and realistic conclusions, while also integrating some stuff that is not realistic at all, that is fantastical in there, which I was not expecting. I don't know. I really like it. I'm just
it keeps that. I mean, it like you say, it becomes more grounded, but it also does keep the fantastical nature in some aspects, and adds things.
It kind of does that The Witch Eggers thing, where it just takes the source material seriously, but in this case, they're not like diehard adherent to everything. They do make considered divergences that are, I would say, more sizable than what Eggers would normally do.
Yeah. And I would say for a Korean audience, this is actually going to be in theaters here in Korea in August. So I actually might check it out on the big screen. It's just that good. I really enjoyed it. So yeah, check that out. If you're in the States, you could check it out on Shudder right now. Or if you're in Korea, you can watch it next month in the theaters. So Yeah, but that's it. That's it for me for
Yeah.
BFON 2000. I did do one more event. I actually did a couple events where I went to go see the actor Lee Byung-hun. He's the kind of villain in Squid Game, the guy with the black mask. He's in a lot of
Okay. Yeah.
he's a big Korean actor, but he was
Mhm.
the like actor highlight this year where they always like show all of his like films throughout the festival and stuff like that. So he did a couple events, interviews, Q&As and stuff that I got to do. It's all in Korean though. I don't know how to release those things. I guess I could release them to our audience, but it would just all be in Korean. So I don't know what to do with it really. I've got it. So I'm
I
not
mean,
sure. I don't know, but it's 100% all in
you,
Korean. So
you could put it in I don't know. We can figure that out. I
yeah,
don't
I
want to.
know.
We're not going
I've
to solve
got
that
it.
problem here on the air.
No,
But
yeah. So, but yeah, maybe a tease for something eventually.
yeah,
In the vault. It's in the vault right now, straight
in the
chilling.
vault. We love our vaults. Our coffers are basically empty at this point, so that's very useful.
So yeah, but that was BFON 2025. It was another great year. Got to meet some great people. I also got to meet the director of Mads, which I didn't realize he was the director of Mads, that French movie that came out last year. I think that's also on Shudder. So everybody was super great, and it was a lot of fun. Had some good discussions about AI and art and life in general, life and love and
Life
death
and
and
stuff.
everything, and love and death and love.
Mostly death.
But yeah, I had a good time
Big
and it was a lot of fun.
big thanks to BFun for allowing us to cover both abroad and locally. I just want to
Yeah.
make sure and shout that out. Very, very appreciated. We love getting
Yeah.
the chance to see some of these widespread films.
It was a different crew this year running the international squad, but they did a good job. They were responsive and they did a good job. So yeah, thanks to everybody. They're always super kind, the volunteers and everybody who helps out there. They're really, really great. So another good, successful BFON. And like I said before, now this is my third year. The end of BFON really does feel like the push towards like when I'm like, okay, I'm ready for autumn. I'm ready for spooky season. Summer's over at BFON for me. It's like, oh, it's done. It's time to start planning Halloween here. So here we go. But yeah, thanks for everyone for joining us on our BFON journey. And until next time, don't forget to keep chilling.